Today I'm interviewing Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Copple. Date is November 22nd, 2020, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Date of birth is April 9th, 1965. Address is 3357 White Shadows Drive, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. What war did you serve in?
I was mobilized for the first Persian Gulf War in 1990, and I was mobilized and deployed for Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2004-2005.
What branch did you serve in?
U.S. Army.
And your rank?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Where?
Where were you stationed?
My last assignment was the Deputy Installation Commander for Jackson Barracks, which is the headquarters for the Louisiana National Guard.
Where you drafted or did you enlist?
Actually, neither. I received a commission in 1988 and as a second lieutenant. And although I guess I started as a cadet, so yes, I did enlist, but I was in ROTC in college, and I was a cadet, so I really wasn't a regular soldier, I guess. So yeah.
Where were you living at the time?
I was commissioned in Grand Junction, Colorado, where I was going to school at Mesa State College, and was commissioned there.
Why did you join?
Probably two reasons. One was that I needed some assistance in order to go to college, and I saw that serving was an opportunity to do that. But then after I joined, I found out that it was more about a desire to serve and also a desire to, I guess, gain my father's approval, who had retired from the Air Force. So, yeah, it was threefold, I guess. So, yeah.
Did you see combat?
Yes, I did. I saw combat in and around Baghdad in 2004 and 2005.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
We lost 33 soldiers in our brigade while I was there.
Oh, okay, out of order. Go back to up here.
Oh. Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
It was because they only had Army ROTC at the college I was going to, and I knew that I wanted to join ROTC, so I joined the simultaneous membership program where you could be in the Guard the same time that you were in ROTC, and they both had to be Army for that to work.
Do you recall the first day in service?
Yes. I actually joined August 22nd, 1985, and I was going to school in Shreveport when I first joined. So I started my career in the Louisiana National Guard as a cadet, and I went to ROTC basic camp. But I remember the day that I signed up. I went to the armory on Stoner Hill in Shreveport, Louisiana, and it was an armory unit, and met the recruiter there, and he signed me up, and could not have cared less about signing me up. I guess he didn't get a quota for it, so he wasn't that worried about it.
What did it feel like?
Well, it was really the first big step I'd ever made on my own, even bigger than deciding to go to college, because this was an obligation that I had made that was enduring. And it was 6 years that I'd signed up for. So good, bad, or otherwise, I was obligated.
Well, tell me about your boot camp and training experiences.
Okay, so because I became a Louisiana Guardsman the same day that I joined ROTC, I didn't go to basic training like normal soldiers would. I actually went to an ROTC basic camp, which was much more mild than a regular basic training. But I did that. I was at Fort Knox, Kentucky in the summer of '85, right before I enlisted.
Do you remember your instructors?
I do. Senior Drill Sergeant Lee, Drill Sergeant Shambles, and Drill Sergeant Jones.
How did you get through it?
Teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. You had to rely on each other. You had to make friends within your platoon. You had to learn how to get along with people. So otherwise, if you were out there on your own, you'd see people fail that thought that they could be their own person. You can't be successful in the military by trying to be a loner.
Where exactly did you go? Like, where were y'all dropped off in the Persian Gulf War?
Well, I got on I was very lucky. Got on a very nice plane in Alexandria, and then they flew us to Germany, and then we got on a less nice plane and flew us into Kuwait City. From there, we went out to a little base called Camp Buring in the middle of sand dunes and everything, just like if you've ever seen any movies about the desert with the big dunes, that really exists. That's real.
Yeah, there's a TV show we watched called Rat Patrol.
Kind of like that. Yeah, big dunes with the nomads with their camels. That we go over the top of them with a helicopter, and we tie a long ribbon to some bottles of water, and we throw them down to them, just as a friendly gesture. And they liked it, but they've had 3 or 4 camels and the guys out there just in the middle of nowhere, But that was his thing. Then I got on a C-130, and it brought us into Baghdad International Airport, which we called Bayat. And because they were shooting down planes at that time, they took us in a very tight corkscrew over the protected area. And when I mean that, I meant the plane was up on one wing, turning that tight. And if you've ever been
scary?
A tilt-a-whirl, only a much bigger tilt-a-whirl. Yeah, I'm looking out the window at the ground.
Were you please don't get me killed?
It was, I would rather them do that because the plane after us actually had a missile shot at them. So, yeah, we landed, and despite getting shot at like that, welcome, to Baghdad, I would rather have been in Baghdad than in Kuwait. Kuwait was absolutely the worst. Hot, like 130 degrees, and still, because you're close to the ocean, to the Persian Gulf, it's still, you have humidity. So it was miserable. Now, it did get to about 125 in Baghdad, but it was overall, it was a better climate, if you will.
Do you remember arriving, and what was it like?
Well, I was up with the advance party, which meant the first group going out to set up our headquarters where everyone else was going to be going in. So we ended up, there's probably about 40 of us. So when we got there, we slept. The unit that we replaced was the Blackjack Brigade, which is 2nd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division. So we got into some of their places, their trailers. I remember the first night we had mortar attack on us, and they had lines and lines and lines of trailers that people slept in. And like 2 rows over and 3 trailers down was hit by a mortar. First night. And the first night, you're like, we actually trying to get up, put on all your gear, and run to the bunker. But after a while, you're just like, by the time you hear the first one, they only would shoot like in 3. The second 2 are already in the air, and if you're going to get hit, you're going to get hit. So it doesn't matter where you are. So you kind of had a attitude like, if it's got my name on, it's got my name on it. I'm not going to get out of bed for that.
Is this still recording? Because I don't know if it stopped recording or not. Is it still going, or did it stop?
Yes, it's still recording.
Okay. What was your job / assignment?
Back then, we had I volunteered to go with the 256 Infantry Brigade, which is the Louisiana Brigade. Mainly because I had been with the Infantry Brigade for most of my career, and I just couldn't see them going over to fight without me being with them. So when I volunteered, all the positions really had been filled because people were just, in their natural progression. They were in the units. They had the good jobs. So I ended up going on brigade staff, and I worked directly for our commanding general and General Basilica, and served as, they called him, I had a couple jobs. This was Secretary General Staff, which meant I was in charge of all his travel, also the 2 deputy brigade commanders and the sergeant major, and then his personal security detail, and making sure that his calendar, did his calendar up and did everything that he needed done in terms of that. But then I was also the strategic lines of operation officer, which there's several lines of operation in a spectrum of nation building. So not everything is just the Army does, just fighting. That's only one line of operation. So you also have governance, and you have water, sewage, electricity, working with the community. And so all these different lines, we had measurements to see how well we were doing, and we were kind of graded by how well we did that. How many hours of electricity do the areas we're responsible for have? How well are we coming along getting the Iraqi people to work with themselves? And also combat operations was part of that as well, and quelling the bad guys, if you will. So we had to have measurements of that, which meant I had to be in all the meetings that worked with those things so that I could assist and get all this. And then we would have to brief on a quarterly basis. We'd have to brief the division commander on how well we're doing on these things. I did that. Then I also did safety. So I was a safety officer as well. Horrible job. Horrible job.
Like workers' comp safety?
Yeah, almost like OSHA stuff. Well, okay. I don't know if there's questions further, but I can tell you a couple things that happened where as a safety officer, I had to go and work some things.
I'm interested, but did you see combat?
Yeah, I did. Because I'm a combat arms officer. I'm an armor officer. I did not feel comfortable because none of my jobs required me to go outside the wire. But I didn't think it was right for me to be safe while everyone else was going on patrols and doing things. So every Thursday I'd go on patrol. Every Friday I'd go on patrol with a different unit, be it in Humvees or be it in tanks, and go and just because I want to see the city too. So go do that. So yeah.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Yeah, we lost 33 soldiers in our brigade.
Out of how many?
At the time, it varied anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000, depending upon who they attached to us. It was a brigade combat team is what it was called.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Um, I'll tell you my worst experience. It was 10 o'clock in the evening one night, and I got a call to get up to the TOC, which is the Tactical Operations Center for the brigade. And in our area of responsibility, we had a helicopter get shot down. And so they put me in charge of the recovery team. We knew that the pilots had been killed. And so we had to go get the pilots and make sure that there wasn't anything left in the wreckage that the enemy could use. So we drove out to an area that was called Uday's Farm. And Uday was one of Saddam Hussein's sons. And it was in what we called Indian country. It was no friendly people around. So we go out in Humvees. We had 4 Humvees, and we had EOD with us. EOD is the explosive ordnance guys, the ones that would blow up. Did you see Hurt Locker? That movie Hurt Locker, where they blew up the bombs? That's what they do. So we brought them out and brought a doctor out with us, and we got to the wreckage site, and it was right on the road by a little hut. And so we got over there, and sure enough, these poor men were dead, and it was a horrible fire. And I can still smell the smell. And the thing that I remember is that they were charred. The men were charred to the bone, except for where they had their protective vests on. And their skin was still there. They were people, that part. But they were, we took them and we took their vests off and put them in body bags. And I can remember that I had these gloves on. And I can remember picking them up and having the smell transfer onto the glove. And they were liners. I had liners on. And so we got them put away. And then they had some rockets that we had to blow up that were on the helicopter. So they blew all that up, and we had to take pictures of everything. And we had to get them back. And so, of course, threw the gloves away. But we had the 2 pilots were in my Humvee. And I'll never forget the smell of that going back with those bodies. And I remember going back, and we had a female driver. This was an engineer battalion that were patrolling that area. And she was no bigger than your mama. She was tiny, petite. And she was driving this Humvee on a canal road that the canal road wasn't maybe that much wider on either side than the Humvee itself. On the canal side, it was about a 10-foot ditch that was about 5 feet of water, and the bottom were always like this. And that's probably my biggest fear, by far my biggest fear, was that if this young lady messed up even just a little bit, and we're going about 50 miles an hour with no lights. They're using night vision goggles because we're in a bad area at night and we didn't even want to get shot. But if she had messed up even a little bit and went into the ditch, these up-armored Humvees were very top-heavy. It would flip over on its top, and then you couldn't open the doors because remember, the bottom was like that. And my biggest fear was being in the dark, upside down, underwater, and not knowing I was going to die because I couldn't open the doors. And that was the only thing that frightened me. I wasn't scared when somebody was shooting at me because I could do something about that. But I just, and we actually lost 3 soldiers because of rollovers.
And how long was that ride from the helicopter accident back?
Oh, it was probably 20 25 miles. So it was a good ways. It was way to the southwest of where we were at Camp Liberty. So yeah.
Were you a prisoner of war?
Never was. I was, and nor would I have allowed myself to be, because these people. One thing that I swore is that they would never see me on a video with Al Qaeda chopping my head off. That would not happen. I would not put my kids through that.
Tell me about your experience in captivity and when freed.
Why was
He wasn't.
Oh.
That doesn't apply.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Over my career? Yes. I received 4 meritorious service medals, I think 6 Army commendations, a couple Army achievement medals, and then a number of state ribbons that included I think the War Cross, received 2 of those, and Cold War ribbon. But yeah, overall I'd say probably, I think 18 medals, but I'd have to look at them to remember, to be quite honest.
How did you get them?
How did I get them? Various reasons. 2 were I received for 2 commands that I had. I received another one for Iraq, and then I received another one for. I'm talking about meritorious service, and I received the other one for. It was for the end of a tour. So yeah.
Higher ranks may be asked about battle planning. Those who struck.
Oh. Did you do any battle planning?
Did you do any battle planning?
Yes.
Those who.
Let me tell you about it.
Oh.
Okay. So we would have what they called a battle rhythm. Understand that we went into a location that was a mature environment, and that that we had established a base. We were going out doing patrols, so it wasn't like Vietnam or World War II, where you were moving as a force. You weren't you weren't attacking an enemy that would stand in front of you. So we would work in combination with intelligence to figure out networks of people. For example, someone would see this car at this house, and then they'd see this person that was in that car that had been over here. So you start building networks saying, okay, that car is attached to this man. That man was at this address. We know that address has someone that lives there that's making bombs that we suspect is at this place. So we would go through the process of fusing all that intelligence information together, and then we would build each week we would have a list of people that we had to have a certain amount of information on, so that we could go and either pick up or kill, depending upon a lot of it was their choice. We tried to take them alive, or if they fought, they died. And then each week we would have this battle rhythm in which we would plan it and then get it down to the battalions, and the battalions would have their targets, and then they would go out in the city and do their that sort of thing. In addition, you also have these other lines of operation where you had like the engineers working to try to get a power plant up and working, or trying to get gas in for people for their cars, and so getting pumps working, and so there was a lot of different things that we were involved with in nation building.
Did you have any did you have any injuries?
I didn't have any injuries. No. I'm proud to say that although I was shot at, I wasn't hit. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
or
at the front.
or ask questions about life.
What was
What was
life?
life at the front or under fire like?
Well, let me tell you what a day would be. Is that maybe that would help, because it was different for different people, and we didn't have a front. We didn't have an enemy that stood across from us. We had an enemy there that would initiate a bomb and then run away. So they weren't, or if they did fight, they would shoot a couple rounds and run away. So the engagements weren't that long. So where I lived, because I was a field grade officer at the time, I was a major when we were in Baghdad. I raided a trailer that was probably about as big as this room, and I got half of it, and two separate rooms, and we had a very small bathroom in the middle, and that was like as good as it got there. We had AC. I had a little twin size bed and a desk and an armoire in there. Now, the funny thing is that whenever a new rotation of people come in, everyone's trying to sell their stuff to that new rotation of people, because they can't bring it back home with them. So I was able to get like a television and a VCR and all this other stuff for like $5, $10. So get up in the morning. Every morning we get up because we had a 6:30 first meeting and a brigade meeting. So we go in there, and that usually took about 45 minutes. Then we'd try to get over to the dining facility before it closed at 7:30 and get breakfast. I ate the same thing every morning.
Take one of the questions.
Was it? Every morning I had.
Can I read you?
Oh yeah, go ahead and ask.
So it says, what was the food like?
The food was amazingly good. I had
Every morning, yeah.
two over easy, 2 pieces of toast, and a yogurt every morning. And then at lunch, I'd have a turkey sandwich. They had like a Subway. It was like a Subway there. A turkey sandwich, or maybe like a chicken salad sandwich. And then at night, they would, like on Fridays, they'd have sometimes lobster and steak. They would have, we had some guys that worked inside the talk that got big because they were eating and not exercising. So you had to also plan some workout time in there. So, I'd go to my office, I'd do my things. I had a soldier that was in my shop, and we'd worked on getting safety things together. Also, well, I actually had 2. There was a sergeant major and me, and then I had a staff sergeant, and she was quite a firecracker. She took care of a lot of stuff. But yeah, so an average day was I'd work minimum 12 hours every day. Sundays we get off until noon sometimes, and so that was the most that I got. Was I got to sleep in on Sunday, and you go in for work at 12.
How did you stay in contact with your family?
Primarily, back then we only had phones. Like nowadays you have Skype, and then so it was email, a lot of emails, and I'd make a phone call once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending upon what was going on. You had to keep in mind the time difference too. So we would call, I'd call, it'd be morning, it'd be evening there and morning here. So was it like 9 hours difference? Yeah. So.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
Yeah. I would say we had, at first I was really shocked that we had the battalion, when the brigade went north from Camp Buring, Kuwait to Baghdad, they actually went in Humvees that we brought from here, and all they did was weld on metal onto them. And so we didn't have the up armored Humvees that we had. It looked a lot like something from Mad Max, you know, just metal and sandbags on top of vehicles and stuff driving up to Baghdad. When we finally got up there, those vehicles never came off the camp, and we got upgraded 1117s for everything. So that was good. We had our tanks, we had artillery, we had all the equipment that we needed. We had the Bradleys, so we were a pretty good fighting force.
Did you feel pressure or stress?
Your life became very simple. You didn't have to worry about paying bills. You didn't have to worry about, going grocery shopping. Unfortunately, all those things, God bless her, went to my wife to do in my absence. And, I didn't have kids to take care of there. And the only stress came from people that were worried about dying. If you just accepted that you were dead when you got there and you would not come back alive until you got back to the States, you're okay. Because really, that was the only thing you had to worry about, was dying. So why worry about dying? If you died, you would know about it, So I didn't stress that much. The only time that I stressed when we lost our soldiers. That was hard.
So you weren't stressed out when y'all flipped upside down?
Pardon?
Were you not stressed out like when the Humvee tipped over?
Well, that never happened to me. That didn't happen to me.
Were you stressed out when adrenaline there?
That was stressful. Yeah, there were stressful moments. Getting shot at. This guy shot at us. I was in the tank on patrol, and this guy shot at the tank with a rifle.
He was a part of the Baghdad
army.
Yeah, he was getting paid. See, back then they pay people if they took video of them shooting at Americans. And so this guy, it was a street. It reminded me a lot of Veterans Boulevard in Metairie, and there's about that size, about that much traffic. And I can remember it was hot, really bad hot that day. And it was so hot that you couldn't put your hands on the tank because you had to wear gloves because it would burn your hands. And I had mentioned to the crew that, man, it's so hot, I'd be surprised if the paint wouldn't start popping off this tank. And I look over and I see the paint go like that. I said, holy crap, it's happening over there. And my gunner is down below, and he said he's got his thermal sights on, and he's seeing tracers go by. And he goes, that's not heat. We're taking fire. And so I look over to my 7 o'clock, and I see this dude hanging out of a car with an AK just shooting at us. And I'm like, oh, you're stupid. You're dumb. I wasn't even frightened. I was like annoyed. We had ballistic glass around the hatches, so the chances of getting shot, he would have had to have got a lucky shot about an inch across. So we slew over, and we're about to service that target, but there were so many cars on the street at that time that the chance for killing innocents was too great. So we didn't even shoot at the guy. It was just I just thought it was funny that we were talking about the paint popping off because it was so hot, and I looked down and there's the paint popping off. But there were bullets impacting the side of the tank.
Was there something special you did for good luck?
Yeah, I still have it. I promise you, I did not plan for this. I got to find it right here. This is a card that I carried, and it has a prayer on the back. And I'd say that prayer every time before I went out.
St. Michael the Archangel?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And
I know this.
Yeah. And so that's what I used. And they handed that out to us. I don't know where it was. I think it was probably at Fort Hood, I think, before we left. And so And what, we had this blessed? Yeah, that's right. We had our priest bless this. So, yeah, that was the thing. And it wasn't for luck. It was for strength.
How did people entertain themselves?
They had a internet place. They had a recreation center. They had pool tables. They had a place where you could do gaming, and they had televisions. And they mainly you'd watch movies because you really didn't have access to, to television like you did here. But AFN they had, Armed Forces Network. And, Oh, yeah, that's right. Me and my roommate, for Christmas, we got remote control cars, little RC cars. And, we really could race them. They were super fast.
Did you get annoyed? Did you like?
Well, we couldn't take them outside. It just would look good for a couple majors to be playing with these cars. So we didn't. So what we did instead was we duct taped knives to the front of them. And then we had like a duel with them and fighting. Yeah, stabbing the vehicles, which made it kind of dangerous. I actually almost stabbed him with the pointy end of his car. But it was Christmas. We didn't have anything else to do. So.
Was your instructor like, are you seriously this stupid doing?
Yeah, we were that dumb. We were that dumb. We were that bored.
Are you seriously that dumb? You couldn't just like, oh, Merry Christmas, my beautiful wife.
Well, and they also had a bazaar where you could go buy local things. And so I bought all kinds of jewelry to bring home and some different flags and some, I forget everything I bought for the kids. Oh, I did bring home an illegal rug. It was because at the time there's an embargo on Iran. And I actually bought a Persian rug. Well, Persia is Iran. No, it's not this one. It's not this one. I thought it was beautiful. My wife thinks it's hideous, so therefore it's in the attic. But yeah, it actually says "Made in Tehran" on it.
Wow.
Were there entertainers, like people that would come there?
Yes, I actually saw Robin Williams and John Elway, and do you remember Waterboy? That movie, The Waterboy.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Do you remember the one Cajun coach that no one could understand?
Were they?
You go like that. He was there. It turned out that he was a lieutenant in Vietnam, and I think the Marine Corps. So yeah. And then that was kind of cool. And of course they brought a pretty girl that was in Playboy. Honestly, I don't remember her name.
So how was it being entertained by Ron Williams?
He was pretty cool. He was telling jokes.
So was he as funny as he is in his movies and stuff?
Yeah, what I saw of him, he was pretty doggone funny.
Did he do any stuff from Mrs. Doubtfire, like reenact scenes from Mrs. Doubtfire?
No, he was doing he was here and here and here, and he would see someone and make a comment about them, and he'd go on 5 minutes about nothing. The guy he's just so quick-witted that, man, he had like 100 things going through his head. Very bright man. Great loss.
And so you have Ron Williams. Did any musicians come entertain you?
Oh, yeah. Shoot. Guys sang American Soldier. Toby Keith. That's it. I'm sorry. Toby Keith came. And he sang about putting a boot in someone's Alpha Sugar. So, yeah. What
did you do when you were on leave?
I got 2 weeks, actually a little more than 2 weeks, in Germany. I met my family in Frankfurt, Germany, and then we drove to an Armed Forces Recreation Center in Garmisch, which is right at the foot of the German Alps and not far from Munich. And so we spent 10 days there and went to Innsbruck and, like I said, Munich, and went to Berchtesgaden. Oh, and went to the Neuschwanstein Castle. And visited a lot around that town. I think that town served for the Olympics in the 30s, back when Hitler was still, he had all the Nazi symbolism. Of course, all that's down, but the stands and everything, the ski jump and all is still there. And then when they left, they went back. I still had like 2 or 3 days, and I happened to have a buddy of mine who was with us. So he and I went to Trier, which is an old Roman city just right on the border of Luxembourg and Germany, and visited around there for the day, and then kind of pedaddled around a little bit until it was time to go back. And that was in June of 2005. So right before, we bought the cuckoo clock, which we never even got put up before Katrina killed it. So, yeah.
Or you sent it home?
Sent it home.
And
I got there like a week before the storm.
I sent it down.
Yeah. So, yeah. And what was most regrettable was the vest that I got. It was a wonderful Bavarian vest. Had pewter buttons, and it was reversible, and I said, I'm going to wear this every Christmas morning. And I'm pretty sure that my wife thought it was hideous, but I liked it. So it didn't make it through Katrina. I think it was.
What was it? What was it?
Huh?
What was
It's a
it?
vest.
It's a vest. It's like a Christmas vest.
Like a costume.
Oh.
It was
Okay.
nice.
So she thought it was a Christmas sweater.
Well, it was just a vest, but yeah, I would have worn it. I'd be wearing it right now. But,
Where did you travel while in service?
okay, since I was active guard and reserve, Louisiana National Guard, which meant I was active duty Title 32, except for when I was put on federal active duty when I went for Desert Storm and for Iraqi freedom. So in that capacity, I served in Shreveport, Louisiana. I served in Alexandria, Louisiana, Pineville, Louisiana. I served in Lafayette. I served in Carville at the Gillis Long Center, and I served at Jackson Barracks in New Orleans. I think that's all of it, huh? Yeah.
Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events?
You know, the funny thing.
Besides Robin Williams.
Well, the funny thing was, and always have been, just the humor of our soldiers, and that a lot of times, in the worst of times, when they were absolutely the funniest, and the dark sarcasm that they had. There's a saying that in the Air Force, they always ask, how can we make this better? But in the Army, they say, it could be worse. So the mindset is, just be glad you got what you got and don't ask for anything more. But yeah, just the veracity, the resilience of our soldiers to do so much more than what you think they could possibly do. Yeah, so they have that.
What were some?
Keep going. And then give it to me.
Oh, okay, could be interesting. What were some of the pranks that you and others would pull?
I would say that when I was at the first of the 156 Armor, we had a scout platoon, and they were kind of outrageous, and that they were always up to something. It was like they were a fraternity or something, because they got no greater pleasure than if they could sneak up on your tank at night, they would paint the A with a circle around it, like the anarchist symbol, on your tank to show that they were there. That was their symbol. And that they were able to get that close to your tank and not see it. And they just thought it was hilarious if they could do that. So I swore they wouldn't do that to anyone in my company. But they did. And one of the lieutenants went out there to interact with them when he heard them, and they ended up taking him and tying him up and leaving him on the edge of the Alpha, which was funny. That was pretty funny. But yeah, there was a lot of funny things that happened because you tend to only remember the good things and not the hard things.
Do you have any photographs?
I do. Not as many as I thought I would. But yeah, I have some somewhere. There's a chest of them.
Probably in the attic.
Huh?
They're probably in the attic.
With the rug.
Probably in the attic with the rug.
Well, I don't know. Honestly, they're in one of the chests in one of the guest rooms.
What did you think of the officers or fellow soldiers?
That was truly the 1%. They were the 1% that were willing to write a check that was up to and including their life for the freedom, for America's freedom, for the citizens. And it's unfortunate that many paid the ultimate price and lost their life. So what do I think of these fine Americans? They're probably the best that humanity can give us. Those that give and understand that they'll never receive any accolades for it, that they're out there in the heat, they're out there in the night, they're giving their all. They are doing that on top of their normal job. Remember, these are Louisiana Guardsmen. In 2 weeks, people get a 2-week vacation, right? They didn't get that 2 weeks. 2 weeks they were in training. So they took their vacation to learn how to better serve. So what kind of person is that? Is that not some of the best qualities you can have as a human, being willing to give all that you have, all that you ever will have to secure the freedom of others? It's just so amazing that we have those type of people here. And I certainly hope that that's not a dying breed. And I don't believe it is. I believe that people will always stand up for what's right. I could not be more proud to be associated with such a number of great men and women. So yeah, that's what I think.
Did you keep a personal diary?
I did, off and on. I found that they had big gaps in stuff that was going on, but I did while I was overseas. I kept one, and at certain times it got dark, and I was, in terms of my writings, were dark because we were losing a lot of soldiers, and so I don't like to go back and review it a lot, but I wanted to write it so that my kids would know maybe why when I came back I was a little different than when I left.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
I do, because it was December 31st, 2016. And we happened to go, and I was on leave. I had accumulated 90 days of leave. So I hadn't worked in 3 months. And it was my last day, and we went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans. And who do we have with us? The Walkers were with us. Okay. Huh?
Rachel singing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so it was friends of ours live not far from us.
Was she the Victory Bell?
And one of our friends' girlfriends, or their son's girlfriend, was what they call them?
Victory Bells?
The Victory Bells. And so they would, for whatever reason, when they came out, they would bring someone up and they would sing songs to them and stuff. And so I guess, I don't know who, someone told them that it was my last day in the military. I was retiring that day. So they brought me up in front and they were doing all things. They gave me kisses on my cheeks. And, it was embarrassing, but memorable. And so I wouldn't have given anything to miss that. That was a great way to finish it.
Where were you?
New Orleans.
Yeah, I was in New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah. Because I didn't know if you had moved to New Roads after that.
Well, that was before. We moved to, after I retired, we moved to Lakeview for a year. And then we moved here in July of 18, May of 18, June. Yeah. So we've been here for 2 years, a little over 2 years. So, yeah.
Okay. What did you do in the days and weeks afterward?
After I retired,
Mm-hmm.
I grew a beard.
Okay, I guess you.
I sure did. I grew a beard, and I always joked that I'd put my hair in cornrows, but I just couldn't have. I couldn't have my hair touching my ears. It just drive me insane. So I kept my hair short, but I did grow out a nice beard. I was very proud of it until the wife of one of my friends said, "Well, you look like Santa Claus." I shaved it the next day.
Aww.
I shaved it. I'd never been able to grow a beard. I joined it when I was 20. And so at 51, you kind of get gray in your beard. So, I'd never seen my beard except for when it's just gray right here. But yeah. Anyway.
Did you work or go back to school?
I decided that I really enjoy service to others. So what I decided to do was to teach high school. So now I teach in an inner city high school here in Baton Rouge, and I teach junior ROTC.
Was your education supported by the GI Bill?
Yes, I did I used some of my GI Bill for college, but then I gave each of my boys a year of my GI Bill so they could go to school.
Did you make any close friendships while in service?
Yes, I'm still friends with many of the people. Matter of fact, my CPA is also a fraternity brother of mine. He was a tank commander in the armor unit I was in. His wife was our attorney. Now she's a judge in Shreveport. I have the master gunner from my unit is a friend of mine that we still talk to. So yeah, I would say that probably nearly my closest friends are the two people that I was commissioned with, Chris and Molly Dare. They got married. They're still close friends of ours, and they live in North Georgia, and that's been 1988. So yeah, you're still good. Still.
Did you continue any of those relationships?
Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple ones.
For how long?
Well, since all my life. No, I won't say all my life up to now. So yeah.
Did you join a veterans organization?
I did. I joined the military organization. The Military Officers Association of America, MOAA, and VFW. Yeah.
Did you go to do any career?
What did you go on to do?
Career after the war?
Yeah. Well, after my career is when I decided to go teach high school. So and I'm currently doing that. My plan is to do it for 6 more years and 6.5 more years. And upon reaching whatever the lowest age I have to be to get Social Security, that's a wrap. And then it's me and the bride's time.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah, it did. In that, I find it hard that some people think that soldiers want to go to war when soldiers are the only ones that pay that price. Soldiers are the last people that want to go to war because we pay the price. So this whole idea that some have about warmongers and such normally are old men who decide to send young men to war. Are more the mongers than the ones that actually are boots on the ground.
It says if in a veterans organization, what kind of activities does your post or association have?
Well, since I haven't been actively involved since I moved to Baton Rouge, so I have to find those organizations here.
Do you attend reunions?
I did. I attend 1st Battalion 156 reunions. It was good to see a lot of those old faces. They're just as ugly as I remember.
How did your service and experience affect your life?
It taught me life skills. It taught me how to problem solve. It taught me how to synchronize. It taught me time management. It taught me about teamwork and leadership and communications and figuring out what motivates people and trying to get people to think with empathy. Always keep in mind what's important, and that's the people that you work with. It reminded me that although the mission comes first, your soldiers always come as an important priority. And it taught me some bad things as well, like very low threshold for stupidity, for incompetence, and for laziness. And so that was probably a huge thing I had to learn when I left the military and went to work in civilian world.
Is there anything you would like to add that we did not cover in this interview?
I guess I can sum up this interview by just saying that it was truly my honor to have the opportunity to have served with such great men and women for as long as they allowed me to. It changed me as a person. It made me a better man. It made me a better husband. It allowed me to provide for my family and to provide a life after the military. So it was probably the best decision that I ever made to go into the military for myself and for my family. All right. That's a wrap.
That's good. Yeah. What do you say, Andrew?
It's at the end of the thing.
Yeah. What do you tell him?
Oh, it says, thank the veteran for sharing. Thank you for sharing your recollections.
Recollections.
Okay. Well, Andrew, if there's anything I can do to help you just let me know. I'm glad to see that you're doing well. And thanks for putting up with this old goat.
Okay.